It is officially fall and time to set up for October in my bullet journal. It was very clear to me that I wanted to go for an orange colored theme, and I thought that the colors orange, blue, and green work very well together and create a very fall vibe. For my October dashboard and calendar, I decided to try something new. In October, I will travel back to Germany, and therefore I will have a lot going on private and travel-wise, but also work-wise. So I decided to visually separate these two categories. As always, I color in the weekends, and on the right-hand side, I add another new feature. I basically create a Dutch door which allows me to extend my monthly calendar, basically for another half of a page. Knowing that I will have a lot going on in October and will need the whole calendar spread for my private and professional events, I decided to try out this Dutch door option to give me more space on the right for my trackers and birthdays and other things that I typically like to include in my monthly calendar. The habits that I am tracking are one thing each day that I do for myself, keeping up with the news, language training, and not eating after 8 p.m. While lettering the overview header, I somehow accidentally made the W smaller than the rest of the letters, but I decided that I would not try to fix it. This journal is just for my own use, so as long as I'm not bothered by it, it's perfectly fine. Watching me lettering this header shows why I prefer to write down the words with an erasable pen first and then go over it with a more opaque permanent pen. It basically allows me to make mistakes and removes the pressure from putting ink to the paper. In terms of stickers, I struggled whether I should use more realistic, chic, photo-style pictures of fall sceneries and leaves and pumpkins, or rather go for a cutesy style. As my September setup was classy and more elegant, I decided to go with a cutesy vibe this time. On the backside of the Dutch door, I decided to give myself room specifically for things related to the travel, and it has proven itself very valuable because just in planning out the journey, I have already made good use of it. In the beginning of a new month, I typically go through all the birthdays that are going to happen and write them down in the calendar just as I am demonstrating it here. What I also use my monthly calendar for is when I am traveling or move between places, I mark off the days when I am where. For example, if I go to Berlin from October 2nd to October 14th. Of course, I will not actually go to Berlin, this is just for demonstration purposes. The next spread will be my finances, where I will record all my spendings according to categories. But this time it will be a little different, because I will also divide it into dollars for the time of October that I will spend in the US and euros for the time that I will spend in Europe. Next to it, I have a brain dump page where I can note down whatever comes to my mind. I really like this little blue coffee doodle because it evokes a very fall-like cozy feeling, especially with the cream. And I imagine that I'm just inside having this delicious coffee while outside the wind is whirling around the leaves. To enhance the feeling of coziness, I decided to add a little book on the side as well. The weekly layout that I use needs one double spread per week, and I like to mark each spread with a little tab at the side. So before I cut the pages, I draw the tabs on the paper. When cutting paper or several layers of paper with an X-Acto knife, usually the results come out better when instead of exerting a lot of pressure on the knife, you just run the knife several times along the same cutting line. After cutting the tabs, I color them in, and in order to give it a more complete look, I draw a tab for the last week as well, even though it is not cut out. In terms of layout, I decided to continue what I had in September. I will choose and write down one professional and one private focus that are written at the side of the page and that I will be able to read throughout each week of the month. On the left-hand side, I will have my task list for the week, and on the right-hand side, I have room to jot down whatever notes I have to take. My to-dos, I will just write down one below the other, and then I can allot them to a specific day with a bullet in the right column. In September, I also had included a water tracker at the bottom of the tasks page, but then I ended up not having enough room for my tasks, and consequently I adjust by giving myself the entire page for my to-do list. I repeat this exact layout for every week and just add some decoration here and there. Again, books and coffee create this coziness that is so special about fall. Actually, in school I have learned to say autumn, but living in the US has changed my English a lot, so the term that naturally comes to me now is fall, even though I still think autumn is the more beautiful vocabulary. The last week of October, of course, is Halloween, so I added some appropriate stickers. This hexagonal sticker says pumpkin spice everything. And this is also something that I got to know only when moving to the US. First, I thought it was a little weird to add pumpkin flavor to a coffee. But already in my first fall in the US, I had to really discipline myself to not buy a pumpkin spiced coffee each time I would order a coffee. In times of the big C, I am not going out that much anymore to buy coffee. However, I will go out of my way every now and then when it gets colder to go out and buy myself a pumpkin flavored coffee with cream. Speaking of pumpkin flavored food, I also learned in my first Thanksgiving in the US that pumpkin pie is actually a real thing. Before, I just knew this from Harry Potter and kind of thought this is something they eat in the magical world. You can imagine that I was actually pretty speechless when I was introduced to my first pumpkin pie. Having it was a real Harry Potter moment for me, but apart from that specific type of magic, I personally didn't like it very much. When I was a child, Halloween was not a thing in Germany, but I have experienced a proper American Halloween party at the American military base of my hometown. And I was so impressed by it that I started to have my own Halloween parties the years after. My mom did an awesome job with decorating and creating Halloween appropriate scary foods. But when me and my friends would walk around the neighborhoods for trick or treat, people actually didn't know what we expected from them, and some even asked us to sing for them in order to receive sweets, just like it is custom to do it around Christmas time. Today, however, Halloween is a little more common. Finally, I have added headers for the two sections of my monthly calendar, professional and private. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like and subscribe. And I wish you all a golden fall.